Welcome back to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. This is episode 5, Avengers 237, featuring Spider-Man. All right, let's get right to it. Like and subscribe, tell your friends. Title, Meltdowns and Mayhem. So we got a great splash page here, and let's go over our creators. Roger Stern is the writer. Al Milgrom is the penciler, Joe Sinnott is the inker, Joe Rosen letterer, Christy Shield colorist, Mark Grunwald editor, and Jim Shooter editor-in-chief. And while I'm not the world's biggest Al Milgrom art fan, I do think he's an incredible inker, and he has also been a great editor over time. And in this combo here with Joe Sinnott on inks, Sinnott has a real smoothing quality about his inking style, and so it really synergizes well with Milgrom's pencils. So we're going to take a look here at this story featuring Spider-Man. In the previous issue, 236, Spider-Man had tried to join the Avengers. He announced he wanted to be a member, and so he is got embroiled in an adventure with them at Project Pegasus, where Project Pegasus was under attack by the Lava Men. And we're going to go over some Project Pegasus stories, I'm sure, in this show as time goes on. But by this time, the Avengers have overcome the Lava Men and, in fact, made peace with them through the help of Captain Marvel. They consider her almost a deity figure because of her ability to transform into a brilliant, bright, shining light. So here the Lava Men are heading back to their abode in the beneath the earth, and the Guardian, who is the security chief of Project Pegasus, has now been made aware that the reason the Lava Men went on a rampage is because they were encroached upon by Project Pegasus's drilling project, which was searching for yet new forms of energy. So here Spider-Man's wondering if he really is cut out for the Avengers. And we have a bit more exposition going on regarding the project which enraged the Lava Men. And we see that the Avengers and everyone else is being watched on a video monitor by some sinister individuals. It looks like perhaps undeclared iteration of the Masters of Evil, featuring Moonstone, Rhino, Electro, and Blackout, who's a great villain who commands Marvel's mysterious Dark Force, which certain other characters like Darkstar also manipulate. Great shot here from Milgrom and Sinnott with our villains in a control room several floors away from the Avengers in the heart of the action. And here, I love it when villains kind of have internecine conflict. They're going to go at each other here a little bit. Rhino and Blackout are going to mix it up a bit because Rhino doesn't know Blackout and he doesn't trust him. So he charges into him here. Pow! Great sound effect there, and great little action sequence from Milgrom. He's a strong layout artist. He does know how to tell a story. He really has good panel arrangement. You never really lost on a page. You always know where to go in terms of following the story. Here, Blackout wields the Dark Force, and it freezes Rhino in place. And here he's raving. You should be made to go through the Torture Iron Door, to have your body twisted with the power of the Black Star. And he continues to rave madly. And Electro whispers to Moonstone as they both look on at the conflict, this guy's crazy. And Moonstone knows, but she thinks the master manipulator that she is, she can control him and use his power. Meanwhile, Rhino escapes the Dark Force prison because he is pretty strong. And he starts to manhandle Blackout. Who knows where this fight is going to go, but suddenly Moonstone, being the leader, takes the lead and tells Electro to separate them, which he does. Great action shot here, blasting them apart. And then Moonstone mixes it up too. She gets in there and gets in between them. Moonstone, no slouch in the power department herself. She can fly at high speed, shoot blasts of coherent light and destructive force, and is strong enough to lift press 10 tons, and can turn intangible. And she's got a pretty cool costume too. So she takes the lead here. Meanwhile, the Lava Men are departing through a sort of mystical ceremony. They ride this column of fire down and then seal off their exit. Wow, Spider-Man says, I saw it, but I still don't believe it. And here the Wasp chides Spider-Man for riding along, and he says, guess I'm not going to be a member now, huh? She says, oh, not necessarily. We could make you an Avenger in training. Spider-Man initially is happy, ecstatic, because he needs the money, frankly. At that point, I think being an Avenger was a stipend of $1,000 a week. So that was huge at that time, living in New York, a pretty tidy sum. And then he realizes, wait, you want to make me an Avenger in training? I have a ton of experience. But the Avengers explained to him, hey, man, you've got to learn how to fight with us. I mean, we all have our own styles. We need to learn everyone's powers. And, hey, what about this weird spider sense you claim to have? And that gets Star Fox thinking, oh, man, I have a hidden power, too, that I haven't told them about. Star Fox just joined in 231, 232. So he still has a couple of secrets up his sleeve that he hasn't shared. And great She-Hulk drawn by Milgram and Sinnott here. I do love their She-Hulk. And they do a really nice job with her here. She had a little challenge with some appropriate costumes, but this one's not too bad with the leg warmers and the looks like running shoes, but she's kind of has a cool full bathing suit on, something like that. But she's drawn, she looks very formidable in this incarnation. So they're about to head back to the mansion, and they're going to take this crazy gravity-defying elevator tube up. But suddenly, someone cuts the power, and they all start to fall. So Spider-Man thinks fast and throws a net under the Avengers who can't fly with his webbing. Meanwhile, the flying Star Fox and Captain Marvel and Wasp are able to hover nearby. And Guardian says, something's terribly wrong. There are hundreds of fail-safes built into the tube network, automatic safety systems set to deploy even in the event of a total power outage. So Wasp says she doesn't like the sound of that, and She-Hulk makes them an exit immediately, and they pile out of the tube onto another floor. So the Avengers are now going to try to figure out what's going on, but there is a barrier in their way. Well, whoever it is, they did a pretty good job of slagging that door to the research dome. Star Fox, She-Hulk, would you? And so the two of them pit their prodigious strength against the slag door to the research dome. Spider-Man feeling a little inadequate next to their strength, although Star Fox really isn't appreciably stronger than Spider-Man. He can lift press 15 tons versus Spider-Man's 10, but still, it feeds the story. And they get into the research dome, but their way is blocked yet again by some weird dark barrier, which we know is the dark force summoned by Blackout. Spider-Man can't even cling to it. She-Hulk tries to blast a hole in it with her double-fisted strike, and she does, but she is immediately shocked. And before the hole closes, Spider-Man sees a souped-up Electro, which he is unable to web him because the hole closes too fast. And then here, our mastermind appears on the screen. It is Moonstone. It's the stuff of which defeats are made. Your defeat, in this case. My boys and I are running the research dome now, and that puts us in control of this entire project. So we have Electro supercharging the barrier. You can see he's got this cool harness and cable hooked up to give him a power boost. He's a dynamo even by himself, so now he's even more formidable. And then here we also see Spider-Man pulling She-Hulk away. The Wasp basically says, all right, everybody stand aside. There's only one person I can think of who can handle this, and it's Wanda. A great shot here as the seas of heroes part and Wanda walks confidently forward, looking really cool in her Scarlet Witch regalia. These video games were never as good as the advertisements, I will say that. We are at a point here when this is published in the early 80s, 1983, where the video game graphics really couldn't match the cool ads that they made for them. That would change, as we all know. So here the Scarlet Witch does her hex whammy on the door and causes a inexplicable backfire. In the crackling, electrical discharges should not suddenly feed back into Electro, but they do. So the dome is down, or the barrier is down, and in that space, nature abhors a vacuum, comes the Rhino. And it's cool how he just kind of plows through the heroes, knocking them out of his way. Captain Marvel is not impressed. She turns into energy form, but is met with a force that even she can't overcome, the Dark Force by Blackout. Here's Spider-Man's old foe, the Rhino. They've mixed it up many times. Spidey is ribbing him. Tell me, Rhino, old pal, how long have you been plagued by these feelings of insecurity? Meanwhile, Star Fox flies by and gives Blackout a punch, but likely he pulled it because it doesn't knock him out, and Blackout then flies as well, showing that he has a number of powers at his command, not just including wielding the Dark Force. Electro is about to zap Spider-Man. Cap cuts his power with a well-aimed shield toss. Spider-Man corrals the errant live wire as he rides Rhino. And Cap, in this great panel, gets his shield returned to him because he is a master fighter. Electro says, I don't need that. I'm good enough by myself. But Cap's shield is proof against his Electro blast. And Wanda's so cool here, the Scarlet Witch. She casts a hex and basically coalesces all the CO2 in the room around Electro and knocks him out from lack of oxygen. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel is trying to figure a way out of her Dark Force prison, and she cannot. Spider-Man, in the meantime, is harassing Rhino until Rhino basically smashes through a wall, still blinded by Spider-Man's webbing. This is a great shot here. Cool vertical panel into these two horizontal panels. Rhino bursting through the wall, and here comes She-Hulk, perfect timing, and she knocks him out with a quick left jab. Great shot there. And now we have Rhino lying on the floor, She-Hulk here, cool like pull away shot, and we see a cool chase going on between Star Fox and Blackout. He's got Captain Marvel in tow. And she had solidified in a previous panel, figuring if she could solidify, she could do a blast that was powerful enough to break her prison, and she did. Here, Star Fox gets blasted with pure Dark Force. Not sure what that does, but it's enough to incapacitate him. And Captain Marvel is pursuing him. Meanwhile, not far away, Moonstone is trying to manage things from afar, so she's going to try to cover their escape by setting up an impending disaster. Wasp comes along, blasts her, but she's tough, and she resists Wasp's sting and blasts back with one of her own, wrecking the control panel to the nuclear reactor. She then blinds Wasp in a great move and escapes, with Blackout following her. And this is such a cool shot of scale here. The Wasp at Wasp size, telling Captain Marvel, hey, we got bigger problems. Don't worry about following Blackout. This nuclear reactor is overloading. And here, the Avengers are wondering, what can they do? No one can get in there and bring those control rods back into line because they would die from even She-Hulk would die from the intense heat and radiation. And Spider-Man shows his science chops. We know he's a skilled science student in university, and he's got more than just spider powers, he's got brains. And so he directs Captain Marvel in a very painstaking manner to go through and bring those and sever the separated control rods so that they fall back and dampen the reactor again to control the chain reaction, tamping it down. It worked. Yeah, it sure did. The reactor's shutting down. Can someone help me get my heart restarted? Another great long panel here where we get to see scale with the Wasp. I love how Milgram and Sinnott do that. It's really cool. And Milgram has drawn Spider-Man a bunch over the years, and he just has a way of drawing him that's just, he's got it down. He's nailed it. And it just works very well. He did a lot of spectacular Spider-Man, and so there's a lot of experience there with the character. And Milgram's just a pro, you know. Say what you want about maybe some stiff figure work or whatever, but he can lay out a story and he knows how to draw. All right. These were great model kits. My brother had a couple of them when we were growing up, and yeah, they did require some skill to assemble, but they were cool. MPC was a decent company, not as good as Revell, but they were cool. All right, last page here. Back at Avengers Mansion, Star Fox is still recovering from Blackout's blast. Spider-Man's waiting to hear about his application to the Avengers. And the Avengers' current government liaison, Mr. Sikorsky, who succeeded the always acerbic Henry Peter Garrick, says, "Are you kidding me? Spider-Man is a security risk. We've got a file on him a mile long. He can't be in the Avengers." So Spider-Man says, They'll okay Star Fox, a guy from outer space, but my own government won't approve me? I feel awful about this, Spider-Man. Maybe if I make a personal appeal to the president? Nah, don't put yourself out, Cap. Me joining the Avengers was a dumb idea anyway. I'll tell you one thing. My congressman is definitely going to hear about this. And finally, Star Fox says, Congressman? What on earth is a congressman? Star Fox is an alien from the moon of Titan. So great sort of snapshot in time of the Avengers in the early 80s, circa 1983. I bought this off the rack as a kid and loved it. So yeah, this is sort of early on in Roger Stern's epic run on the title. And at some point he would be joined by John Buscema and Tom Palmer, and they would have a run unlike almost any other in comics at that time. Rivaling Trimpe's run on the Hulk and then Sal Buscema's run on the Hulk. Just a really epically long run. Yep, and we've got a nice letters page here. So a couple of letters on previous issue 232, which was the debut of Star Fox. I'll just read one real quick from writer Jim Sherritt. I'm happy to see Star Fox joining the Avengers, even if it's just as an Avenger in training. But I'd like it even more if the Falcon rejoined the team. The Falcon is my favorite hero, and I think he belongs with the Avengers. After all, he was Captain America's partner for a while, wasn't he? If the Falcon doesn't rejoin, how about giving him his own magazine? How about a limited series, Jim? The Falcon #1 is on sale right this very minute, written by Jim Owsley and drawn by Paul Smith. Check it out. And that is a good one. Sometimes available in dollar bins. If I can grab it, I will, and we'll cover it on the show. Anyway, that's been this quick read-through of Avengers 237. Like I said, like and subscribe. And thanks for watching Scott Reads Comics. Take care.